Good evening, guys. I'm going to try to explain how I'm going to do this with you guys. This is going to be basically a setup. I'm going to have a small video that I record, and then I'm going to present to you basically the chapter we're doing. There'll be a quiz, and there'll be a couple other fun videos to kind of watch that I would normally show in class to go with each chapter. There's going to be 6 lessons total, and they're going to be posted on Google Classroom so that you can understand what's going on with each of these chapters. Sadly, the first chapter I'm going to be doing is chapter 12, which is the effects of alcohol and drugs on driving. And the thing that saddens me is it's one of my favorite chapters to teach you. I hate doing it remotely. I might get better at this over time. I have picked up this small webcam to try to help it out. Also picked up a mic and a few other things and some software. So hopefully the videos will get better over time. But these first few that you're going to deal with are going to be pretty simple and pretty basic. If I'm not looking directly at the camera, I'm probably looking down at the book. I'm going to be reading stuff to you. If you watch this video, you will have all the answers you need for the quiz. Okay, so this is chapter 12 in the book. You guys don't have a book, unfortunately. It's the effects of alcohol and other drugs on driving. Okay, so the first thing that you need to understand is alcohol is involved in a lot of crashes. Okay, up to 50% of all crashes, or nearly half, are caused by alcohol. So that means if we stop drinking and driving, we would lower the accident rate significantly. Okay, so that's real important to think about. Alcohol is also a depressant. Okay, it's a drug that slows down your nervous system, lowers your inhibitions, and eventually makes you have issues with your coordination and things of that nature as well. Okay, so just understand that that's part of this process. You probably learned that in health class as well. As your BAC, you hear a lot when you talk to the police, or you hear from the police and they say, oh, we got a BAC of point this or point that or whatever. BAC is blood alcohol concentration. It's a real important measurement. It's how to determine if you're too drunk to drive a car. Right now in New York State, and actually all 50 states, you can have a BAC up to about 0.07 before you get a DWI. But in New York State, we also have a DWAI, driving while abilities impaired, and that's a 0.04. Okay, so between 0.04 and 0.08 is this little area we call DWAI. Okay, so yes, you can get a ticket for having lower than 0.08. Okay, that lowered probably about 10 years ago from 0.1 to 0.08, and that's the equivalent of approximately 4 drinks. Okay, so if you're at a party and you're having a few drinks, just a few of those drinks together will add up to that 0.08 and take you over that legal limit. So you want to be real careful. My personal rule of thumb, I'm not an abstainer from alcohol, but I'm really not a drinker. And if I have more than one drink, I don't drive a car. It's just that simple. I find a ride. If I'm in a city, I'll get an Uber or find some other way to get where I need to go, call a friend or whatever. So just be aware of that. If you're messing with alcohol and driving, you're just making a deadly weapon and using a deadly weapon, okay, to kind of quote a term here, so just understand that, and that's something you need to know about. So again, that 0.08 is New York State's level. Now for you guys being under the age of 21, you have what we call a zero tolerance. So if there's any alcohol in your system, New York State can charge you with a DWI. So if you have a 0.02, which is lowered, I could drive with a 0.02 and I'd be fine. You cannot. As a person under the age of 21. So just kind of be aware of that. That measurement of 0.02 is measured by the amount of alcohol that is in a drink or the strength of the drink. And you probably saw it in your permit test, a 12-ounce can of beer, a 5-ounce glass of wine, and a 1.5-ounce shot of whiskey, vodka, some other hard liquor, all have about the same amount of alcohol, and they all come out to about 0.02. So if I'm having 4 beers in an hour, I'm going to be at 0.08 by the end of that hour. So just that's something you want to be aware of. And, people have all kinds of myths about how to get sober. Okay, they say things like, oh, if I take a cold shower, I'll be sober. Or if I drink a lot of coffee, I'll wake up and I'll be fine. The depressant effects of the drug will not affect me anymore. The other one is food in the stomach. Food in the stomach just delays your drunkenness a little bit. It'll absorb a little of the alcohol, but you'll still be just as drunk as if you had not had food there at all. You just won't get as drunk as quick. The only thing that lessens the amount of alcohol in your system is time. Okay, so in theory, if I drink 1 drink an hour, and then after my last drink, maybe I drink 10 drinks in a 10-hour day. Okay, if I wait an hour after that last drink, theoretically, I should be at 0 or pretty darn close. Okay, so spacing those drinks out, allowing for time for oxidation is really the factor that plays in here. Okay, alcohol, it affects your judgment, it affects your ability to make good decisions. And one of the things that students often say is, "Oh, somebody had something to drink and somebody fell over." That doesn't happen till you've had quite a bit of alcohol usually. Okay, usually your judgment is affected long before your physical capacity to handle alcohol is affected. So that's a real important thing to keep in mind. Okay, like I said, time is the key. Once you're old enough to drink, spacing out your drinks is much more sensible than just drinking a lot at one time. And if you space them out, you really won't get to a point of inebriation or anything that'll cause you a problem to drive a car. Like I said, more than one drink, I don't get behind the wheel. It's that simple. Okay, if you do that the rest of your life, you'll be fine. Okay, of course, there are a few exceptions to that rule. If I'm having a Long Island iced tea and it's got 5 shots of alcohol in it, that could really be a problem. Okay, so that's something you want to be aware of what you're drinking as well, and also the amount of alcohol in that drink. Okay. Now we've talked about most things in here. A couple other things I want to mention to you is alcohol does affect you with the first drink. Okay, as soon as you have that first drink, your judgment abilities and your ability to make good decisions starts to be compromised with that first drink. So understand that it's not after you get to 6 or 8 drinks. It's after that first drink you start to have some judgmental abilities and things like that. So that's something you want to be considering too if you're out. Another piece of this puzzle here that I want to bring up though is men and women, we're a little different. Okay, women produce a hormone called alcohol dehydrogenase. It allows you to absorb more alcohol and get rid of it slower. Okay, so women tend to get drunk a little quicker. So there's a little difference between men and women. The other factor that plays in there is your average adult male runs somewhere between 150 and 200 pounds. I said where your average woman does not run that heavy. So the size of the person definitely is a factor as well. Okay. One other thing I want to mention as we're talking about this is I want to mention the fact that, you guys at this point at 16, 17 years old, you know how to take your own meds, how to do those types of things. But I want to make you aware that when you get a new prescription or you're taking an over-the-counter medicine, be aware if it's going to make you drowsy or reduce your ability to drive a car. Okay, to reduce your alertness, make you tired, make it hard to perform basic tasks. Those could all be factors that could be a problem when you're driving. Okay, so you need to know that. So let's say, for example, I've got a head cold, okay, and I take a little NyQuil. If I take NyQuil, it's got a sedative in it, okay, and if I take that, I may fall asleep behind the wheel. That's why the company that makes NyQuil, Vicks, also makes something called Dayquil. Dayquil does not have, it has all the cold remedy, but it does not have the sedative in it. Okay, same thing with Tylenol and Tylenol PM. Okay, the PM has those factors in it that make you go to sleep. So just got to be aware of that. At this point, I've answered all the questions that I wanted you to understand. There are a couple other things I want to mention. I always mention in class. In New York State, if you get a DWI, they're supposed to put what they call an ignition lock or an ignition interlock device, which basically you have to blow in a breathalyzer to start your car. Okay. It costs several $100s to have that installed on your car, and that is your cost. And you have to have it removed. So if it's ordered to be on your car for a year, at the end of that year, you have to have it removed. Talking to police and different law authorities and law enforcement officers, they say it's very difficult to trick the breathalyzer. It does some sort of photo recognition, so if you have somebody else blow into it, it recognizes it and doesn't start the car. The other thing that's a factor is it has, most of them at this point have what they call an intermittent alarm, and an intermittent alarm can go off any time. So if I'm driving for a half an hour, it might go off twice. If I'm driving for 3 hours, it might only go off once. There's no way to know when that's going to go off. And when it goes off, you got I think 3 to 5 minutes or something to blow in the breathalyzer to keep your car running. So that's something you don't want to have to deal with either. Unfortunately, today the average DWI is costing somewhere about $5,000 to $10,000 out of your pocket by the time you pay legal fees and all the other junk that goes with it. So it's something you want to avoid. So if you go by my rule and you have more than one drink, don't drive a car. It's that simple. So I'm going to let you watch this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It wasn't very exciting, obviously. You can see the mess behind me in my office, and it's not very appealing as far as a video goes, and I didn't do any fancy music or anything with it. But this will give you all the answers for the quiz that is on Google Classroom. Watch the other couple videos They're actually interesting. Unfortunately for you, man, I can't show you some of the fun ones that I like to show you in class. I'm attaching a few that I think you'll enjoy. One's a breathalyzer test on the side of the road. Another one's a breathalyzer test where they get people drunk and they have them try to breathalyzer different drunkenness. And then the other one that's going to be in here, I'm trying to look what ones I put in here. The other video you're gonna really like though is they do a drugs and driving test where they get people high and they put them on a course, which is kind of neat to watch. So I hope you enjoy all the videos. Take the quiz. Once the quiz is done, there's no actual worksheets with any of the videos in this chapter. There will be in future ones. But just enjoy the videos and take the quiz. And once you're done with that, I grade the quiz, or it'll grade it for you, actually. I got the computer to grade it for you. And at that point, I'll give you a grade for that chapter, and it'll go in the grade book just like it did before with the quizzes that we took in class. And I'll do that for the next 5 chapters after this. Have a great day, and we will see you guys. And again, I'll be in school this upcoming Monday, so enjoy. Bye-bye.